Hi everyone, welcome to First Phase Capital. This is Mark, and today we are with Jeffrey Wilson, President and CEO of Precipitate Gold, a mining exploration company focused on gold and copper in the Dominican Republic. How are you, Jeffrey?
I'm very good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So to begin with, could you introduce the company and by doing so, talking about your projects, how many you have, where they're located?
Absolutely. So we're as you mentioned, we're a junior exploration company focused primarily in gold and copper. Our primary assets are held in the Dominican Republic. We've been there for nearly 12 years now. I think a good advantage in having picked up what we believe to be some of the most prospective ground in the Dominican Republic. I know it's not known as a maybe a highly popular mining jurisdiction, but as many people will know and some may not, Barrick has been operating one of their tier one assets in the Dominican Republic called Pueblo Viejo. That's been one of the largest mining operations, gold mining operations in Latin America for a long time. So we know this is a jurisdiction that has prolific mineral wealth and is mining friendly. And we were able to pick up ground in two key regions of that country back in 2012 and then again in 2018 and 19. One of our projects is adjacent to a company called Gold Quest that has about a 3.5 million ounce gold equivalent deposit that they're advancing to feasibility. And we're situated in the same geological terrain there. We've got a number of targets. We've drilled some targets. We've got many more still to be drilled. And that's a project called Wanda Herrera. But later in about 2018, 2019, after having spent a fair bit of time working at Wanda Herrera, we identified an opportunity surrounding Barrick's Pueblo Viejo. And so we were able to acquire a significant land package right up against Barrick's claim boundaries on three sides. We did a small amount of work there to get some drill targets delineated. And then at that point, we're approached by Barrick about an earn-in. They liked what they saw on the property. And so we've got a partnership, an earn-in partnership with Barrick on our Pueblo Grande project surrounding their mine site. Barrick has to spend $10 million over 6 years and provide a pre-feasibility study at the end of that 6-year term in order to earn a 70%. So, that project is large. It's highly prospective. There are a number of targets, and we're quite thankful to have Barrick financing that work and spearheading that work to be able to identify whether or not there's some meaningful mineralization there. And we're about 3 years into that earn-in. So a substantial amount of money has been spent by Barrick, and they are continuing to spend on that project now. So those are our primary assets. I guess the third asset one could say is that we have a treasury of about $6 million Canadian in the till right now, all hard dollars, and are I think well leveraged to be able to utilize that treasury for growth.
Okay, so out of all your projects, which one would you say is your flagship project?
I think right now the flagship is our Pueblo Grande, where Barrick is spending the money, and that's because it's the most active. And again, having the sort of the validation of having a Barrick in as a partner, I think supports the size potential of that project. Having said that, we are at the core of our business plan. We are explorationists ourselves, and so we really haven't been a project generator or a joint venture type company. So, we ultimately would like to have a project while the work is being done at Pueblo Grande by Barrick. We're still very keen to sort of find that primary asset that we can, finance our capital and our experience and technical team on as a project that we are exploring and doing the work. So for now, I think most of our shareholder base is involved for the assets in the Dominican Republic and primarily the Pueblo Grande project with Barrick.
Okay, and talking about this project, because a recent news was shared about Barrick and the phase two drilling. So could you give some highlights about it and the potential upside?
Yeah, so Barrick, as you pointed out, we just announced that they've initiated a 3,000 meter drill campaign, likely going to be somewhere in the area of about 10 drill holes, all diamond drilling, core drilling. And this work is going to be taking place immediately west of Barrick's Pueblo Viejo mining pit. So, I mean, really, you can stand on the ridge on our project and overlook and see, the enormous mining pits of Barrick, in the distance. We're really that close. And so that's where the drilling is going to take place, really very, very close by to an existing massive highly profitable mining pit on Barrick's ground. So, they've identified a number of targets there, and these are areas that we were going to drill ourselves before we did the deal with Barrick. So we're very pleased that they are testing this portion of our ground because we liked what we saw there as well, based on geophysics and geochemistry and geology. But there they've identified two main targets that they'll be drill testing. One is a near surface epithermal style mineralization, relatively shallow, open pitable type mineralization. But they've also identified porphyry affinities as well. And so there may be the secondary view here in this work to identify or test for some sort of a porphyry source at depth. So, this has kind of got sort of two-pronged potential here, where there may be some near-surface mineralization identified, but also testing for that big prize or that big rich source of a porphyry at depth.
Well, it sounds very exciting, eh? And now let's get to know a little bit more about your team, because I was checking it. It's a pretty strong, experienced one. So could you walk us through the team, you developed, their experience, background, and if you could talk a little bit about you as well, would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think any junior company, you're only as good as the people involved, and obviously this end of the business, exploration, is high risk, so you want to make sure that you're working with people that have the experience and the track record for success. So we're fortunate to have a very strong management team. Myself, my background is primarily capital markets, marketing, raising money and marketing and promoting good ideas. I've been in the mineral exploration and junior mining space my entire career. That's a little over 25 years now. And I'm partnered up with, a very strong geologist by the name of Michael Moore. And Michael is my VP exploration. Mike's been a consulting geologist all over the world. He's worked in, just about every corner of the planet, primarily, again, focused on precious and base metals. And so we think we've got a good team that knows how to manage the company, manage personnel, systematically explore projects, and mine the treasury. We've been very good about making sure that money is going into the ground and not spent frivolously. We're sort of guided, if you will, by a very strong board of directors and a diverse board of directors. We've got both balance of capital markets and geological expertise. Our chairman is Adrian Fleming. Adrian is a quite well-known geologist who has had some discovery successes and that have led to takeovers by major companies in his career. Alistair Waddell is a former Kinross geologist who's now running a junior company focused in Australia, a company called Inflection. Alistair gives us great input and intel as it relates to identifying geological opportunities that have the potential to attract a mid-tier or a major company if we're successful. And lastly, Lon Shaver is also on the board. And Lon is a former investment banker who now works with a mid-tier producer, Silver Corp, and at a senior level there, a senior management level there. So again, we've got a really strong team that have a balanced skill set, and it kind of keeps us on track and on path, and balancing both the strong technical side and doing the right thing on the ground, but also making sure that the market is aware and informed, and that we're kind of addressing all sides of this business as we move the company forward.
Okay. And what about your financials? Because you guys have almost 5 million cash, and not many junior exploration companies have this much. So what's your plan there? How do you intend to use the cash?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a fortunate position in the markets that we've been in over the last several months, maybe more than a few months, have been pretty challenging, especially as we're raising money. We were fortunate in when we acquired that ground adjacent to Barrick's Pueblo Viejo mine back in 2018, 2019. We knew that, aside from the geological potential, we believed that there was a strategic opportunity there as well. Pueblo Viejo, run by Barrick, is a massive major mining operation, but it was pretty limited on real estate. And so we always felt that there might be an opportunity to have some way to leverage that land position adjacent to their mine. And sure enough, as we were entering into this earn-in agreement with Barrick, and that continues, they reached out to us and indicated that they needed some new ground for infrastructure. And so we were able to negotiate terms whereby they made a cash payment of $5 million US. and granted us a 3% NSR on some ground that is now part of Barrick's Pueblo Viejo mining operation. So, utilizing that capital is critical, and how we leverage that into something accretive is critical. And so, we've been looking at leveraging that in identifying something new. So we've got our assets in the Dominican Republic. They're owned 100%. They're in good standing. They don't require any underlying option payments or work commitments. And in the case of Juan de Herrera, we believe that the real catalyst there will be for our neighbors to get their permit. And once that happens, we can certainly allocate more capital there. At Pueblo Grande, we've got Barrick spending, so we really don't need to allocate any capital there. So that puts us in a position saying, okay, we've got this treasury of nearly $6 million. Let's identify something that can be a focus for our management and exploration. So we've been looking for the last several months, better part of a year, frankly, at new opportunities, and that's included M&A ideas with other companies that have perhaps strong assets but limited capital, groups that are private and are seeking a path forward to go public, where our listing combined with our cash could be a beneficial and accretive scenario. So yeah, we're really sort of doing a great deal of evaluation and looking at assets that we can bring in that we think will be a game changer, but without turning our back on our existing portfolio in the Dominican Republic. So what we'd like to do is balance out our current situation with a new asset where we can start to deploy our capital on ongoing work, news catalysts, and try to bring something forward that can be an augment to what we already have in the portfolio now.
And also, can you talk about your share structure, because it's an important data for investors?
Yeah, the company's been around since 2012. It's never rolled back. So, we do have about 130 million shares issued and outstanding, which I think, given the circumstances of having, traversed through the last 12 years, I think is pretty good. And it speaks to how we mind the share dilution and the cash position of the company without having to continually go back to the market. We've got a couple of key major shareholders, so our float is still relatively tight, even in spite of the number of shares that we've got out. We have Barrick as a major shareholder. Barrick has in the ballpark of about 10 million shares of the company. One of our single largest shareholders is a company called Strategic Metals. They're a Vancouver-based, a very well-regarded exploration group who financed the company at a time where we were advancing projects and needed the money to kind of keep moving forward with exploration work and drilling. And so they've got a little of in and around 15% of the company's stock. We've got a couple of key shareholders in the junior mining resource funds world that have been very supportive, and some European investors in that pool of shareholders as well. And then management is in and around the 5%. So we've kind of, I think, got a well-balanced sort of share treasury where most of the stock is in good hands. Most of our shareholders are in for the long haul and are looking at the upside potential of Barrick's work, as well as what we might do with our current treasury. We're basically trading at cash right now, so we're really not getting a lot of credit for the assets that we have and the earn-in agreement that we have with Barrick. And so we think this is an opportune time for us to sort of leverage those scenarios into something that can create some value for our investors.
So with all that was said since the beginning of the interview, what would you say are the company's highlights and strengths?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of our strengths is the ability to identify assets that have the potential to attract mid-tier and major mining companies. We've done I think a very strategic job at picking up ground that's in the right neighborhoods, if you will, but at the same time has its own geological potential. So we've picked up key pieces of ground relatively inexpensively. We haven't taken on big, expensive earn-in agreements or option agreements where we're paying our cash out to a property vendor. We typically want to find projects that we can acquire inexpensively, maybe even for shares, and maintain our treasury to be used in putting in the ground and generating real results. We've negotiated some very good contracts. I think, the likes of the deals that we've done with Barrick, I think, speak for themselves. And our ability to, I think, systematically explore projects and mine the treasury and make sure that the company is always well financed, has the capital to move forward. but is very selective about the projects that we pick up. I mean, we're not interested in, small, intermittent promotion of things that aren't going to work out. Our general starting point is this a project that has the right affinities to one day attract a major company? Is it a big enough land package? Is it in the right jurisdiction? Is it in the right geological environment? And does it tick the boxes that if we are successful, we can attract the major? Now, again, our MO is not to necessarily to partner up with major companies. In this case with Barrick, it was a timely opportunity, and we thought it was in the best interest of the company. But ultimately, we want to find assets that we can drill and test ourselves, be there for that discovery leverage where you can kind of go from, a prospective piece of ground to making an actual discovery. We think that's where there's the real torque in share price appreciation, and ultimately find something that a major company wants to have in the form of a takeover or a buyout, and all shareholders can go away happy and profitable.
And so going forward in 2023, what could investors, going forward into 2023, what could investor expect in the short and medium term?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of different things, and I think that's where there's value in our share position or our share price. I mean, and we've got a number of different irons in the fire, if you will, or opportunities for leverage and for growth and value. And I think first and foremost, you have, one of the number one gold mining companies in the world in Barrick, spending their money and exploring our project to make a discovery there that can obviously be part of or an augment to their Pueblo Viejo mining operation. That allows us to have consistent ongoing news flow, project advancement and development without it costing us any money or costing us any time in terms of manpower. So that's a wonderful anchor to have Barrick spending their money exploring our project. Secondly, we have the asset called Wanda Herrera that's adjacent to a significant deposit at a company called Gold Quest and their Romero. If that Romero project gets permitted, our Wanda Herrera project value will shoot up instantaneously. It's really a matter of knowing that there's a pathway forward for development for our neighbors would immediately add value to our project. And we could start to deploy some capital there. We have drill permits already in place there. That's a project in the Dominican Republic that we could start to advance very quickly if the political and permitting landscape is right. The third sort of iron in the fire, I guess, is our cash position. And, at any time as we continue our due diligence and review of potential acquisitions or mergers, if we find the right deal and we bring that into the story, I think, again, that could be a real catalyst if we could bring in some new project or some new opportunity by leveraging the fact that we have cash and can position ourselves on something. So, those three things I think are all going to generate news here in the coming months. The timelines on some of those, I don't know. But, certainly the main driver here, I think between now and the end of the year and perhaps into Q1 of next year is going to be Barrick's work and the ongoing advancement there. A bit more of a wild card in terms of timing is what do we do with this cash to position ourselves for something new? But I'm optimistic we can find the right deal and bring something in here that will be beneficial and accretive to shareholders.
So ideally, where would you see the company at, let's say in 3 years? Would you see like just yourself producing or about that or anything else?
I mean, ultimately, I what I would love to see happen, and again, I'm speculating here and sort of maybe making a few predictions. But look, if Barrick can find what they want on our Pueblo Grande project, I think that there's, ideally, I don't think that Barrick wants to have a joint venture partnership with Precipitate. Ultimately, they've got a right to earn 70%. If they see enough that it's interesting enough to be part of their Pueblo Viejo mining operation, which is one of the largest mining operations in the world, they're not going to want to be partnered with us. I think it's very likely they would try to find some way to negotiate us out of that deal. And I think that would be an opportunity for us to try to leverage that into something, again, that's beneficial to shareholders. What we're also seeing from Barrick is an increased, I think, comfort with the jurisdiction of the Dominican Republic. And so I don't think it's out of the question that Barrick, given our relationship with them, they maybe start looking at other assets in the Dominican Republic. We have other assets in the Dominican Republic. So maybe we have an increased relationship with Barrick, and or perhaps Barrick wants to just own all of the exploration and development ground in the Dominican Republic, and we would be well positioned to potentially be a candidate for some sort of ongoing deal flow or takeover. So, look, I think that, our relationship with Barrick is probably the primary strength going forward here over the course of the next couple of years. Having said that, if we identify, something new that we like, ideally, I'm looking for something that we can be committed to for 2 to 5 years. Again, early stage exploration, success doesn't come overnight, but if you find the right assets in the right jurisdictions and do the right work, over time, those successes can pay off and you can really add value for shareholders, which is what we hope to do.
Everything seems very promising. And because we're about to be at the end of our interview, do you have anything last to share with the viewers? Like if they need to communicate, who can they reach out to, or anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is www.precipitategold.com. We keep that quite up to date in terms of developments with the projects and deals with our partners, share structure, cash position. It's all there. There are quite a few interviews like this on our website as well. If people want to get a sense of of what we've talked about in the past and the sort of the path forward for the company over the last several years. And I can be reached. I do primarily the main point of contact. If people want information about the company, the easiest thing to do is send it to info@precipitategold.com. That will land in my inbox, and I'm happy to respond personally to anybody that wants to reach out for more information. So, as I see it, although I'm the CEO of the company, I work for the shareholders. And if anybody's got a question or they want a phone call or an email, I attend to those myself and make sure that people get the information they need.
Well, it was my last question. Thank you everything, Jeffrey. Thank you for being part of here, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the news in the future about Precipitate Gold.
Very good. Thanks, Mark, for the opportunity. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.